Here in the Boston, Massachusetts area, real estate has doubled, if not more, in many places over the past 10 years. But something I experienced yesterday made me wonder if Massachusetts or New England is actually poor, if it can't afford the energy or work it needs to keep its infrastructure in good shape. I was walking along this path when I heard what I thought was a large tree branch falling down. This is on a map. This road, Arlington Street, is at the edge of Medford, Massachusetts. Here you can see the first utility pole that snapped off. There are wood scraps left over by carpenter ants which were hollowing out the pole, I suppose for years. And here I'm panning to the right. The second utility pole was pulled over because it too was rotted at the bottom. Here's the first pole and the second pole is up there. Or maybe the other one's the first pole. Anyway, you can see it rotted out in between. The second pole also rotted. And I could hear some sirens, what I thought were the fire trucks and police coming, but actually the police didn't come till a little bit later. So yeah, the first police car shows up. And here's some video from TV news that night. Now, of course, long left the scene. But there you can see that they have to replace those poles. For context going forward, home prices in Medford have risen from about $600,000 to $900,000 in the past 6 years. Quite a jump. But if you look at the CPI, they should have risen from $600,000 to $762,000. So they're definitely $762,000. They're definitely $150,000 over what you would expect from inflation. So I just put a line here where you can see where home prices really should be if they followed inflation more accurately. But of course, this area, New England, prices have been going way past inflation. So the utility pole collapse when I was on my walk got me to thinking about this utility pole. So I went out to do some research today, and this is right around the corner from my house. I mean, look at this thing, how bent it is. I mean, I can't believe it's not a hazard. Well, it didn't take me a long walk for me to find a double pole. All right, so what happened is this pole that's leaning to the right here, what they've done is they cut out the rotted part. Well, they cut it off its stump, and they've added this pole, and they've attached this pole to it. So they probably had like some sort of clamp that held the old pole in place while they hammered the new pole into the ground. And they now have, once this happens legally, the utility companies have 90 days to move all those wires over to this pole. Now, we just moved here a couple of months ago, and of course I haven't been looking at poles like this or thinking about it, so I don't know how long this has been here. But the main problem is that each company that's responsible for a wire, like Comcast, Xfinity, AT&T, whatever, all those companies have to coordinate moving their wires over, scheduling, moving it over to the new pole. And so, of course, there's a database that's supposed to do it. But it's like everything with the government, of course. It doesn't work well. So anyway, legally, they're supposed to move everything over in 90 days. But if they don't, there's no law that fines them. And some people in government have tried to push in some laws that would fine the companies. They would start at $10 a day, and then after a month $100 a day. Keep ramping up to really push them into replacing the pole properly. Now, statistics I can find says that Massachusetts around 2018 there were 16,000 double poles. In 2021 there were 18,000. So I expect here in 2025 there are over 20,000 double poles in Massachusetts. In other words, telephone poles that are rotted, that need to be replaced, that are unsafe. But you just saw the other one I showed you that's leaning over. So a ton of these poles are just leaning over. So why is this happening, right? I mean, why doesn't the government force these poles to be fixed? Well, the issue is that utility companies, are running bare bones, and people that are doing renovations or building new homes, they want them to come do the electricity from them and all the utilities for them. So they're always lobbying politicians to no, don't make them fix these old poles, because then there won't be enough linemen to come do what we need done. So that's why it doesn't happen, while this problem gets worse and worse and worse. But I make the argument, hey, if there's so much oil and energy for everyone, right, there'd be energy enough to do everything. So I don't buy that. I really feel like there is actual, in real dollar terms, you tell a homeowner that you say, hey, you need to pay $5,000 to replace this pole, they'll go absolutely nuts on you. Even though you say, hey, listen, 10 years ago this thing was worth $500,000. It's now worth $1 million. You have $500,000 more. Borrow some money from the bank so you can fix that car. Would be a good thing if this microphone is working. This we're blocking out sound. That hey, take the $500,000, borrow the money, and we're going to put it towards utilities to fix these poles. But they're not. So that's what you're seeing, I think, in the economy, is that it's not real money. The real energy is not there. People cannot afford it, and so I don't see that the values are going to last, because eventually you're going to reach a point where there are just too many of these double poles. And worse than the double pole, because this will probably, I guess, be fine for a while, is the other poles, like I showed you yesterday, that are leaning. That poles will start falling down. Like this one. They're just all. And this isn't that bad, but they're all. Most of them are not that good. And what are you going to do then? When inflation is really just ramping up. Here's another one. Look how much stuff is on that pole. And of course, they should just bury the wires, but forget that. So like I said, it's just a lot of phony wealth in New England. So this is just a couple of blocks away. That double pole is down the street there, a few blocks. So this is a case in point. So look at this pole. It's totally leaning, it's totally falling over. And what's happening in this house here? It's a renovation. So if somebody bought this house, they're going to renovate it, because everything is doubling in value almost every 7 years or whatever, and then they're going to sell it. And what happens to this, this pole? So you have this growing quote value in this house, and you have this super depreciating asset here. Actually, it's a debt. It's a debt that you're going to have to take over. This pole is falling more and more and more, and all these poles are falling more. Anyway, I just wanted to say that, hey, this is an example, just a few blocks away of, again, where all the money is put into a house for rising equity values, but the infrastructure is falling apart literally right 5 feet away from it.